Today, we're here to push boundaries. In the Greek tale, tragedy really, of Icarus, he too dared to test the very limits of human nature. What he desired was to fly like the birds he longed for around him, and so he made wings out of wax and feathers. He worked hard, and guess what? He succeeded. He flied with the birds, and it was the greatest moment of his life. But he wasn't done. He wanted more. His ambitions were not met, and so he flew higher and higher until he flew too close to the sun. The heat from the sun caused the wax to melt, and he tragically fell back to the earth. Today, ladies and gentlemen, today we succeed where Icarus failed. Today we walk up to the precipice of the human limit and we push past it. We do what society has been afraid to do for a long time. That's right. Today we're sculpting with candy corn instead of clay. Also, you know what? Icarus was kind of an idiot. You ever hear of nails, Icarus? You ever hear of aircraft grade aluminum, Icarus? You ever hear of Scotch tape? I think someone should have been keeping an eye on Icarus. Anyway, yeah, today we're using candy corn, the Halloween candy, to sculpt instead of clay because I'm an actual insane person. And what are we gonna make? We're gonna make a little Halloween monster thing. Is it currently 3 weeks past Halloween at the time of me posting this? Yes, it is, but I procrastinate. Let's get started. Alright, as you can see, I've attained 2 pounds of Brax? I don't know. Candy corn, and it's even got a nice little guy on there. Look how happy he is. Just gotta open the bag here. Okay, sure. Now, you may be wondering, how do you even sculpt with candy corn? Well, if you've ever taken a piece of candy corn and crushed it in your fingers and then molded it around a little bit, you may notice that it has a bit of a clay-like consistency to it. And that's basically it. That's what I'm basing this video off of. It's already sticky, by the way. As you can see, we're separating the candy corn into its 3 components, the yellow, orange, and white. So we'll have 3 different little colors to work with. 2 pounds, by the way. Did I mention that? 2 pounds of candy corn. For those of you following along at home, I found the best way to separate it. Yeah, just like that, kind of snap its neck, and yeah, candy corn efficiency. Every once in a while, you'll get a messed up candy corn, and it's kind of like finding a shiny Pokemon. Speaking of which, check out my collection from over the years. I've got the infinity stones of candy corn. Okay, 2 pounds of candy corn, separated by color. It's not perfect, but there's only so much you can reasonably do. Here we go. Now we have to grind the candy corn into a sort of paste so that it's moldable. I first tried to do it with this amazing makeshift mortar and pestle you see here. That didn't work, so I moved on to various other methods off camera, all of which were pretty painful. Turns out crushing candy corn on a larger scale is a lot more difficult than on a smaller scale. In the end, I realized I just needed to look again towards our boy Icarus. It turns out the solution was heat. Just as it was heat that melted the wax on Icarus's wings, putting the candy corn in the microwave a little bit makes it all soft and malleable. And much easier to work with. Okay, I've turned everything into blocks, so it's basically just Minecraft from this point forward. I found it fairly interesting that the yellow and the orange were about equal, while the white was much less. Speaking of the white, you'll notice that the white is more of a cream now instead of a pure white color. That's because I couldn't separate all of the orange out. Perhaps if I do this again, I'll come up with a different method to separate it, but by this point, I was over it. You can only stare at candy corn for so long before you go crazy. Okay, and we can finally sculpt. And sculpt is a very generous term to use here because you can barely manipulate this stuff. Like I said, we're just making a Halloween monster thing because I don't think I can do anything too detailed with this stuff. I had to heat up the blocks of candy corn anytime I wanted to manipulate them, and sometimes it got pretty hot, hurt my fingers. And we're starting here with the head slash face. I'm trying to use the colors in a semi-interesting way, but it's rather difficult, more difficult than I expected to mold. And I'll be honest, I was beginning to feel a little bit like Icarus at this point, flying just a little bit too close to the sun here. It's pretty much inferior to clay in every way. The one saving grace I'll say about candy corn is that it tends to weld to itself, so that can kind of be nice sometimes. The yellow part of the candy corn seems to be the easiest to work with, and I assume it's because it's the thickest part of the corn, so it's the most fresh. I assume if you do this while the candy corn is as fresh as possible, you may not even need to heat it up. I did this over the course of a few days, so the candy corn wasn't quite as fresh as it could be. Tools are like not even worth it at all to use with this stuff. I was fine, I was just dramatic. I was actually afraid I'd break my tools trying to do that. But we kind of got a face coming together. It's not great, but it's something. This is probably about as detailed as my patience will allow me to get at this point, given what I'm working with. But I had a neat idea for little candy corn teeth and a nice tongue. I thought it needed some little head spike things. It really just makes it look like a Pokemon. And if this were a Pokemon, I believe it would be a fighting type, because after multiple hours of working with candy corn as some form of clay, it's constantly fighting my patience and my self-control to not throw it against a wall. Here, as you can see, we're making the front legs. They actually turned out okay. I'm doing the claws here, kind of how I did the teeth, where I'm making them look kind of like candy corns. Some minor little adjustments, and sticking them onto the body was a bit of a process. They, for some reason, didn't want to be sticky like every other part of candy corn on this sculpture. But I got it eventually. I made some little back legs too, and I'll be honest, I was starting to check out a little bit by this point. So the back legs are like just very simple, like insect-like leg shapes. Same with the tail. The rest of the clay was devoted to this big tail. I kind of wanted it to come up like a scorpion, but the candy corn really wanted to abide by the laws of gravity, so I just kind of rested it on the body. I added a few final details, then to try to firm everything up, I did the opposite of what I do with clay and bake it. I froze it in the freezer, and that just kind of made it all shiny and watery. That was interesting, but then I just went to sleep, woke up the next day, and it was fine. So here it is, the finished product. It looks like something that a child would make out of Play-Doh. I actually feel bad for this creature. I feel like how Victor Frankenstein felt when he made his monster. This thing is suffering. It is literally falling apart as I showcase this final shot. It literally wants to die. I'll be honest, folks. I think we may have flown a little too close to the sun here. I hate to say it. I think we did. Okay, anyway, before we end the video here, I just want to say thank you for watching. I just checked the channel and we're at 31 subscribers. The real number's 30 because I'm one of them on an alt account, but I think it's really cool that 30 people care enough to subscribe to me, so thank you. I'll try to upload a bit more frequently, and I've got some cool stuff planned soon. Also, I got a real mic, so hopefully I don't sound like I'm on Xbox Live anymore. Anyone here seen the movie Red Dragon?
Spaghetti!